Let's do this. Let's get you an update out of New York, where music mogul Sean Diddy Combs is expected to be back in court tomorrow following his conviction on prostitution-related charges. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft in Lower Manhattan with the very latest. Kelly, nice to see you. You're back there at the courthouse steps. And as you've been talking about, there is a big difference in the proposals by prosecution and defense ahead of tomorrow's recommendations that are going to be laid out. What can you share with us?
Well, hi there, Matt. Yes, a huge disparity between the two, with the prosecution saying that Sean Diddy Combs should spend at least 11 years and 3 months behind bars. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have defense counsel who is proposing for the sentencing guidelines that he should only have to serve about 14 months behind bars. He was arrested last September, so if he served 14 months, he would be getting out in December, so just a few months away if the judge went with defense counsel's proposal, Matt. But we are back in Lower Manhattan outside the federal courthouse. Tomorrow, Sean Diddy Combs will be back inside that courthouse and will learn his punishment from the judge. This is for his crime of transportation to engage in prostitution. Now, a jury found him guilty of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution back in July, one for Cassie Ventura, the prosecution's star witness, the other for a woman who went by Jane. Let's take a look at the government's proposed guidelines calculations. So, convicted of 2 violations of the Mann Act for Cassie Ventura and Jane. So they are recommending that sentence of at least 11 years behind bars and saying that enhancements should apply since his crimes were accompanied by threats or fear as well as serious bodily injury. As part of their sentencing memorandum, they put forth some information saying that Sean Combs' conduct, it lasted for 15 years. It spanned across the country and the globe and involved dozens of participants. It left Ventura and Jane broken and beaten. Many suffered at his hands through physical abuse or psychological trauma, and he's only concerned with his own power as well as control. So, Matt, those are some of the things that the government put forth in their proposal as they are recommending that sentence for Sean Diddy Combs of at least 11 years plus 3 months behind bars. And ultimately, it will be up to the judge. The judge will have a lot of discretion as to what he decides to sentence Sean Diddy Combs to. He cannot go above the maximum. The maximum will be 20 years, so 10 years for each count.
Yeah, and a lot to consider as we see in any sentencing hearing, right? We're going to hear from victims, victim impact statements, maybe some letters are read. And I understand that one of the things that the judge is going to consider is a letter from Cassie Ventura, who you mentioned. She submitted a letter to the judge. What do you know about that?
Yeah, Matt, so she is just one of many people who submitted a letter to the judge talking about being victimized for years by Sean Diddy Combs. We took a look at that letter, and we put together a few excerpts from that letter. We can put those up to you now. And this is exactly what she had written to the judge, saying that he should be spending time behind bars. She talked about her experiences, saying they were real, horrific, and they deserve to be considered. She did mention the jury and say, although the jury did not seem to understand that the defendant used force and coercion against me for those freak-offs, I know the truth. She went on to say the sentence should reflect my lived reality as a victim. And also she talked about this, Matt. She said, I am so scared that if Sean Diddy Combs walks free, his first actions will be swift and retribution towards me and others who spoke up about his abuse at trial. So, Matt, talking about the threats and coercion, that's something that is kind of going to be disputed tomorrow and argued on both sides, as the prosecutors say that they want these enhancements because of the threats and the coercion, where defense counsel is saying that kind of enhancement should not apply.
Kelly Craft joining us live from Lower Manhattan. We can hear the generators behind you. We know that there are people lining up You can't get through your social media feed without hearing about this case, and you're going to bring us updates. Thank you, Kelly. All right, let's do this. Let's bring in my guest for this hour, trial attorney Gene Rossi. Let's talk about this case a little bit. A sentencing kind of unlike any other that we've seen, right? First off, there's not going to be any cameras, but we're going to be bringing you updates throughout the day. But talk about that wide range. What are you expecting, really?
Well, Matt, I had so many sentencings, I can't tell you. But in the federal court system, you have the sentencing guidelines, and it's like a cookbook. You have a case of conviction, you have additions and subtractions, and you come up with a guideline range. Here, the government's come up with 11 years plus. The defense has their own calculation, their own variance, if you will, and they recommend 14. But in this case, I think that the judge is going to give a lot of weight and deference to the recommendation of the United States probation officer, who recommends 5 years. And I think because 3 counts were either hung or acquitted, and then the 2 that were convicted was the Mann Act, and it's a serious crime, but it wasn't the major counts in the indictment. I think the judge is going to show a little bit of sympathy towards P. Diddy, and I predict he's going to give him 5 or 6 years, 4 to 6 years, 4 to 6 years.
Well, it'll be very interesting. I mean, the defense is asking for 14 months, which would equate to pretty much time served. You know, I'm going to be watching very closely for those victim impact statements and also statements from others submitting to the court, including Combs' former stylist, Deontay Nash, who spoke out to CBS, talking about his relationship with the music mogul, his allegations. We could hear from him. Let's watch.
You say you were strangled on several occasions.
Several. Mm-hmm.
Was there ever a point where you thought, I could die?
The whole time. I said, he gonna kill us. He is going to kill us.
You talk in the lawsuit about literally having a to-go bag and cash just in case you had to go into hiding?
Mm-hmm. It has some underwear, some shorts, a tank top, a hoodie, and, you know, just some Vans.
So, Gene, when we talk about sentencing and those victim impact statements, I mean, in your experience, this could last several hours, if not, maybe longer, maybe spill into a couple days, because who has the right to speak at something like this?
Well, a judge should allow any victim to speak at a sentencing. And if you have 60 victims, if I'm a judge and you want to speak, I'm going to let 60 victims speak. I don't know how many are going to want to speak at this sentencing. I suspect maybe 5, 10, 15. But a judge will give that victim, each victim, a chance to speak their mind. And that's what a sentencing should be. And here's the thing about sentencings. The victims do not have to be part of the indictment. They don't have to be a count or a conspirator or person 1, 2, or 3. It can be somebody who was a victim, who wasn't part of the indictment, but beyond the preponderance, 51%, they have the right to be there. So I don't know what how much this judge will give in terms of leeway. He may say, victims, I'll give you 2 to 3 minutes each. You know, my arithmetic is not the best, but that should be done in a day.
Yeah, and you know, what's also allowed is anytime someone is being sentenced, they can make a statement on their own behalf before that sentencing, which is called allocution. So it'll be interesting to see if Mr. Combs makes a statement to the judge and to the court.